Welcome to Cockpits and Cocktails, the lively aviation podcast, where we talk about all things aviation and aerospace. Please grab a cocktail, let's chill out and talk about some aviation.
Well, this is Cooper the pilot with Stephanie.
Hey.
I just like saying it that way.
Yeah, everybody does.
And we would like to welcome today our special guest, Stacy Sheard.
Hey guys.
Yay!
Hi.
So, Stacy, I met you recently, and I know you're a helicopter pilot. Could you tell our audience about how you became a helicopter pilot in your career?
Sure. I probably wanted to fly since I was 11 or 12 years old. I'm originally from Central California, and there's a lot of wildfires in California, and helicopters were always flying over my house to get to the Sierra Nevadas. So I think I dreamed of helicopters at an early age, but I didn't have a lot of money. And back then, when I was growing up, there weren't a lot of flight schools for helicopters that I was aware of. So I basically hedged all my bets and joined the Army with the hopes of, I joined as an enlisted person and with the hopes of making it into a warrant officer candidate school and getting the military to help me pay for flight school. So, and that worked. So I was an Army Huey first, and then Black Hawk pilot, and then I went back to Hueys and then back to Black Hawks. And then in the end, I did 11 years active duty in the Army, and I got out and I started flying helicopters in the civilian industry. So these days I've done several different jobs after I got out of the military. I worked in Las Vegas and flew tours to the Grand Canyon. I was in Los Angeles and I flew helicopter air ambulance, and I did news and a little bit of Screen Actors Guild work. And then I ended up going back to Sikorsky Aircraft Corporation, who makes Black Hawk helicopters. And I ended up as a production test pilot for the next 7 years for them. Now I'm flying corporate Augusta 139 helicopters in the New York metropolitan area and just generally in the Northeast. So in short, that's it.
Tell us, did you get your SAG card?
Yes, I did.
Awesome.
I did. Yeah.
So if you cannot get your SAG card acting, this is another way to go.
Yeah, it was just right place, right time, and really right aircraft. Somebody wanted the type of helicopter I was flying, and I was the only one that could fly it in town, pretty much. So it just happened to be timing, and I did a little bit of work, not much, and then at that point, I left California and moved to the East Coast. So I haven't really done a lot of SAG work since I left Los Angeles.
Well, tell us.
Say, you are awesome.
Yeah.
This is when the bleep button comes in for me, because you are badass. Sorry. Oh my gosh, you're so
right. We dream to be you. Well, tell us about the movie that you worked on. You don't have to tell us specifically which one, but.
Well, I actually started when I was in the Army, and I did some Army commercials, and then which I didn't get paid for, because while you're in the military, you can't get paid to help advertise for the military. But then I got out and did a little bit of commercial work with some friends, and then I did some work on some Showtime, the L Word, if you remember, and then Entourage mainly. There was some Ocean's 13 work as well, but most of that was CG. So that's kind of taken over, to a degree.
I'm in all. I'm in all of this story.
Well, I think when you're on the West
Coast,
life
story is so exciting.
Thanks. I don't really think about it that much, but I guess from the outside looking in, it might seem, it was just, honestly, it was right place, right time. I have a passion for flying. So it wouldn't really matter in which direction I went, as long as I kept flying cool aircraft and, and just being available for different jobs. So, it was all timing. I mean, there is no possible way I could have ever planned doing those things.
Right.
And I never even dreamed of doing Screen Actors Guild work at all. And it wasn't something I was going for, but it was just one of those things that it was an opportunity along the way. And, I rarely say no to opportunity. So I figure when it comes along, grab on and see what the ride is.
Icing on the cake.
Yeah, exactly. I had a great time, and you get residuals. So when you do Screen Actors Guild work, you do have residuals. It's not a lot, but it's nice. So it's a nice little, 12-cent paycheck every now and again.
I'm in awe. I'm just living in my little Chester County farm area over here.
Oh yeah. Well, I ended up, I think I moved from the West Coast to the East Coast back in around, I want to say 2007. And that's when, I stopped doing any more work in Los Angeles for movie work. And I moved out to the Westchester area, actually in Pennsylvania, to fly for Sikorsky aircraft. They had a facility there in Coatesville, and we produced
a beautiful airport.
Yeah. We produced Sikorsky 92 helicopters, which seat about 19 people. And then also Sikorsky 76 helicopters, which they seat less, but they're used heavily in the corporate industry on the helicopter side, and also offshore oil and some air ambulance. And I actually flew an S-76 Sikorsky for air ambulance when I was in Los Angeles, and I worked for Children's Hospital in LA. So yeah, a number of different jobs, here and there. And then on myself, right now I fly corporate helicopters, and just mainly around the New York metropolitan area, and in and out of Los Angeles. It's a lot of IFR and VFR, both that kind of flying. So it keeps it exciting. I was out late last night flying during some rainy, crappy weather out of Philadelphia, and then back into New York IFR. It always makes it interesting because our approaches sometimes don't take us, our instrument approaches don't always take us to airports. Sometimes we're shooting an approach to a point in space over the water, and there's no lights at the bottom, unless you're breaking out and you can see the coastline, and you can see the lights on the coastline, which we did break out. And we break out just prior to New York City, and then we fly about 12 more miles up the Hudson River and drop our passengers off. So that's what we were up to last night, and then getting back IFR as well. So it keeps it exciting. The variety is always fun. We fly, I think majority, I would say over 80% VFR flying, but whenever the weather goes bad and it's not freezing levels, we're flying IFR.
I actually just did the Hudson run a couple days ago before this horrible rain. I feel like it's been raining for a month, but I guess it's been raining for 2 days.
It's been raining a while because all of my flying has been IFR lately. So yeah, that's a sign of bad weather.
Yeah, we got to get Cooper to fly over here, and then we have to go do the Hudson. She hasn't done it yet. So
yeah, you definitely have to. I have a lot of shots of the Statue of Liberty and Hudson's kind of.
Oh, I bet. You're probably like, yep, that's New York.
I know. Yeah. I think everybody that flies out here, and then there's those days where you look out, you look out the office window and the Statue of Liberty is going by, and you're like, dang, this is a pretty good job. And then you carry on with whatever it is that you have to do for that day. It's not a bad job. I don't have anything to complain about. Absolutely not. So I'm happy with where I ended up, and the variety.
Fresh. This is so exciting. And Cooper loves helicopters. I don't fly any. I have no idea half the names and letters and numbers you were saying earlier. I'm just like, this is so exciting.
Let's
the numbers are they're familiar to helicopter people, but for non-helicopter people, it's like if you've seen a Black Hawk, a lot of movies.
Yes, I do know what Black Hawk is. But
yeah, so the one of the helicopter is a little bigger than a Black Hawk, and it's like a big Black Hawk, and then the other helicopter I flew for Sikorsky was a little bit smaller. It's like
going to the Helicopter Association, that conference, that's when I was like, oh my goodness, I thought there are so many helicopters. I didn't know that there could be. This is the little one, and you're like, it fits 15 people, and it's the tiny one.
Oh yeah, the sizes range. Of course, they're all from piston size, smaller size aircraft to turbine twins, and then also maybe a twin with a an APU on board or something like that. There's a lot of different, and in the helicopter industry, there are a number of sectors of the industry. And I don't know if it's more than the fixed wing industry, but I think at last count, I counted 29 different sectors of the helicopter industry, like agriculture, photo. I mean, a lot of similarities with some of the fixed wing jobs, pipeline patrol, utility, firefighting. A number of them are similar to fixed wing. And then there's a lot of others that are a little bit different as well. So that, so if you're doing news, or you're doing tours, or you're doing agriculture, or air ambulance, or offshore oil, let's name a few, search and rescue, corporate, they just keep on going. Logging, heavy lift. There's a lot of utility, and you find a lot of helicopter jobs are pretty purposeful. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's part of what draws, especially when you're coming, like I came out of the military, when you're looking at doing your next job after coming out of the military, which is very purposeful. You want to go into a civilian career, that's very purposeful. So I'll see a lot of military people that come out of the military and they want to go into search and rescue, or say customs and border protection, or firefighting, or some kind of utility work. That has been their life. Their life has been service for so long, and they're looking for that purpose to kind of finish out the second half of their career. So I see it a lot in military people that come out. And that's another thing that I'm part of. I'm on the board of directors at the Helicopter Association International that puts on that Heli Expo that you went to. And then I also have coordinated HAI's Mil to Civ transition workshop for probably the past 8 or 9 years, something like that. And yeah, that's been a great thing, because when I got out of the military, I had no idea how many jobs there were in the civilian industry, what they were looking for, what my resume should look like, what I should be dressed like, how to show up. I mean, do I bring a headset? Do I bring a helmet? What are you looking? What do you want? You have no idea. Your life in the military is very structured, and all the rules, and you've learned how to play by the rules for years. And then you're dropped into you get out of the military and you're dropped into the civilian world, which looks like chaos. So you got to figure it out. And so it's helpful to have a mentorship when you're getting ready to make that transition, because it's scary for a lot of people that have been in the military for a lot of years. It looks chaotic out here to a lot of military people, and the rules are different. And
I never thought of it that way.
Yeah.
And that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Just down to saying, do I wear what shoes? Obviously you wear shoes, but like what?
Yeah. I mean, it's not combat boots, right? You're not going to show up. I mean, for a lot of the jobs on the civilian side, you're not showing up in a flight suit, helmet, and combat boots or flight boots.
I mean, it'd be pretty cool though, if you rolled up into the mall and you were like, here's my resume. Be a little kid that would always walk around in her Disney outfit, go to the grocery store and be like, I'll take 2 pounds of turkey breast.
Make sure the fan is blowing, your hair is blowing in the wind.
Oh yeah, the sexy place. Oh yeah.
Yeah, she went that route.
Yeah, no, that's all you see in the movies too. I wore a flight suit. Yeah. For years in the military, and I did wear it when I worked for Sikorsky aircraft, and also when I was air ambulance. But it looked nothing. My flight and the way it fits, it's supposed to, I mean, generally it's a fire retardant Nomex material and it's supposed to fit loosely hanging on your body. So when you watch movies and you see it like skin tight, not even zipped all the way.
So they're not leather and black and tight. And yeah, the zipper's halfway down to your, oh, my belly button ring's showing.
Yeah, probably not. But I mean,
today.
It's a great TV though,
right?
Draws them all to the yard. So why not?
So I get asked a lot by young girls who are going into flight training about, believe it or not, being a test pilot. How did you get into that, and what do you advise them?
I think a lot of companies that are looking for test pilots, production or experimental, or whichever way a company does it, a lot of their employees come from the military. So a lot of them are looking for a military trained pilot. That's the majority. It's not always this way. But a lot of them are military trained, and they may have, like in the different branches of the military, you might have specialties as a pilot. For instance, with the Army, you can track several different specialties, and one of them is maintenance. So they might be asking for someone with maintenance experience with military aircraft or military training, and then also experimental test pilot school, which when you're in the military, you may get sent to a test pilot school, or if you're working for a manufacturer, perhaps they will send you to a test pilot, an experimental test pilot school. So I wasn't an experimental test pilot. I was a production test pilot, which basically means that when a helicopter that's already been completely tested and it's FAA certified for the aircraft I worked with, it's already certified, but it's brand new. It's the first time they're rolling it out of the hangar. I do all the hangar checks, the ground runs, and the initial test flights, and fly it for the very first time it's ever flown. So that was my job. Now, not all aircraft manufacturers have let their test pilots do several different jobs. I was able to do some experimental test pilot work as just a test pilot sitting next to an experimental test pilot. So there's a number of different opportunities that people have, depending on who you end up working for. And the company that I worked for, I worked for Sikorsky Aircraft, which is now a Lockheed Martin company. And I did production test work. I did do some experimental, although I wasn't the experimental test pilot. And I did a lot of instruction for when people buy new helicopters. Say they make an agreement with the manufacturer that they'll get 5 hours or 10 hours or some initial training on the aircraft. So I would do a lot of that training. And then if aircraft needed to be flown all over the world or shipped and then flown into different countries, I delivered aircraft all over the world. China, I flew aircraft in India. I flew in Azerbaijan. I flew in a number of places to deliver the aircraft, test aircraft, and also train the pilots who purchased the aircraft. So there was a lot of travel in the job that I did when I was flying test. And I loved it. I loved the variety that Sikorsky offered. And I had a great 7 years, actually. I loved it.
That's the kind of job I want to travel.
I know, isn't it exciting? I mean,
yes.
Being paid. Yeah, I still have many friends that still work there. I've always been curious about other aircraft. I missed flying, IFR. I missed the variety of real life flying. And so after about 7 years and several different aircraft, flying test, I missed being able to get into other large helicopters. So eventually I found an opportunity to fly an Augusta 139, and then, great companies to fly with in the Northeast. So there's some wonderful opportunities out here for corporate helicopter pilots as well. And it comes in handy. My test background comes in handy because we're taking delivery of a new Augusta 139 soon. And that is a large, twin engine turbine helicopter. It can seat anywhere from, 5 to into the double digits. So it just depends on what the interior is set up. Ours is corporate. So it seats, I think the new one we're getting seats 7. So it's a good size. The one we have now seats 5, but the seats are really large and comfortable, kind of, if you fly in a first class seat, it's got captain's chairs and it lays back, and the seats are really nice in our aircraft. So ours are built for corporate transport. That same helicopter could be doing search and rescue and outfitted completely differently, or it could be fighting fires and outfitted, differently as well, or it could be doing air ambulance. So all of the options for the interiors of all these aircraft will vary, and they're capable of doing just, a variety of jobs.
I saw one of them at the Heli Expo had like wallpaper in the back. I'm like, what? So I just had no clue. And I'm thinking, okay, this is how I really want to live my life, in the back of a helicopter.
I know, right? It is nice.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it is nice. Yeah. And and as far as a lot of people interested in flying test, I think that's, I think flying in the military and getting that experience, and also applying for test or maintenance or specialties like that, is a good way to try to navigate that route to eventually becoming a test pilot. And then also, if you're in school or you're studying in university, engineering, aviation engineering classes would be helpful to help you navigate that route as well. There are a lot of different ways to get there, but I think that the military has been probably creates the most test pilots, I would say. So, but yeah, and if you speak to a bunch of different test pilots, they'll probably all give you different, different things to study in school or different routes to take. But that seems to be fairly common, is engineering classes and military.
Good to know. Well, share with everyone, if they want to follow your journey, your social media tags.
Oh, yes. So I'm easy to find. It's just my first and last name, Stacy Sheard. So, and it kind of looks like Stacy's herd. Yeah. So pretty much on Facebook, Instagram, everywhere. It's my first and last name. It's just Stacy and Sheard, which is awesome. Pretty much what it sounds. But yeah, I am trying to keep up with my social media. I keep taking, I've got plenty of content, just nothing put together. It takes time, man. I don't know how you guys are doing it.
That's because we have no life. I mean, Cooper does, but I mean, I live where farm animals live. So,
I like Westchester though. Westchester's nice. Well,
very nice.
What was I involved heavily in there? Girls Exploring Tomorrow's Technology. Have you heard of that? It's a STEM event that happens around Doylestown.
My niece is in Doylestown, so I'll have to look into it though. But that sounds actually something. I've got her. She loves flying. She's in first grade, but so I mean, she's in first grade. Things could change tomorrow. But
I know. It's true.
My daughter doesn't like to fly, and she's a freshman at Temple. So it's not that she has no interest in learning to fly. She will be fine if you take her to where she wants to go, but that's about as far as it goes. So anything that's especially like STEM related, I know that my niece Hunter would probably love to do.
Yeah.
So I definitely
there's a lot of people in aviation. Yeah. I think there's a lot of people in aviation jobs, and their children often don't have an interest in aviation. Sometimes they do though. I think, no, is it more of a rarity?
I would like to know how many, if they did like a study of, you always hear if you're anywhere, like you're like, oh, well, my grandfather flew, and and it's always like passed through the line. I don't have a single person in my family that flew. So no one.
I don't either. There's no one in my family that flew. So what I did was Yeah, completely alien, right? And everybody, like, if you're gonna go spend all that money and learn how to fly, people will tell you you're crazy. And that's
But a lot of people have learned because they grew up riding shotgun, with their dad. And I mean, that has to help.
Yeah. But I do hear a lot of, I hear a lot of, especially women, maybe later in life, when they've actually started one career, if they want to switch over to aviation, or they've always had kind of a nagging interest in it. I think many times they're told by friends or family, hey, that's crazy. That's a pipe dream. That's crazy, or you're spending a lot of money for what? But yeah. And so you do feel very alone. When you
I learned how to fly like when I started lessons at like 38, and everybody had a comment. It's a sad thing to say that everybody had a comment when I don't say like, why are you wearing that shirt? I don't judge them on anything, and it's like it's an exciting thing that I want to do, and it's not my fault that they don't understand that you might have that fear, but I don't.
Yeah.
Or you might not have that fear if you try.
So we're running out of time, ladies. But I want to finish up with, there will be a lot of women and young girls listening, hopefully. What advice or encouragement can you give to these women to pursue their dreams in aviation or helicopter?
Oh, yeah. I mean, here's the thing. If you are at all interested in aviation, it is definitely a great career. I mean, I've had a wonderful career. I wouldn't change a thing. I mean, the ups and downs of it all. You're not crazy. Pursue it and focus on it and keep at it, and it will happen. And what I would also do is find yourself a network of people, especially women, because we are such the minority. What are we, 5% in aviation or something ridiculous? You need to find a network or a support system. And in that, I would definitely join, an organization like the 99s or Women in Aviation International, WAI.org. If you're interested in helicopters, HAI, Helicopter Association International. And I would join Facebook groups or any kind of group, or follow anybody that is promoting aviation that you can send a message to and ask a question. And, how can I do this? Or what should I focus on? Or where should I look for a flight school? Or how do I pay for this? I mean, there's a million questions, and nobody probably in your general circle is going to know how to answer that for you. It's just easiest for other people to say, that's crazy. Why would you ever want to do that? I mean, most people where you grew up, where I'm from, I haven't been in my hometown for years. I left a long time ago, and it's wonderful to go back and visit. But, a lot of people will do a job, especially a woman, that that you can fit into, that everybody else can see you fitting into. Aviation is not something people can imagine for you unless it's something like, stereotypically common for a woman, as far as like a flight attendant or something like that. So wanting to become a maintenance technician or a pilot or an engineer, that's sort of out of the ordinary. So you have to find your tribe, find the people that are doing what it is you want to do, chase them down and ask them questions, and don't feel dumb because we all have the same questions. So, and we've been down the road, we know the obstacles already, and we can save you some time, money, and heartache by giving you at least directions to move in. So I think it's all about finding your people, your network, people that are going to help you along the way.
Well said. Well said. Well, this is the end of our podcast for today. Thank you so much, Stacy, for coming on and telling us all about your story. It's just been amazing.
Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate it, Stephanie and Cooper. And it's awesome. It's awesome to meet you at WAI too. Hopefully I can get to Oshkosh as well. But yeah, if anybody has any questions about being a helicopter pilot or a helicopter mechanic, if I don't know the answers, I can find them for you. But I can easily be looked up or Googled. Just Google my name, Stacy Sheard, or my handle is on Instagram is Stacy Sheard as well. So easy to find.
You're awesome.